Alright lads, so recently I came across a Reddit post asking what is the strongest kit you could give on a character within reason. It's a pretty interesting question and I wanted to make a whole video dedicated about it. So with that said, here's my build as a non-game developer, by the way. Make that very clear. On what could be a very exciting and broken character in Brave Souls that doesn't seem too unrealistic. Maybe just a tad bit unrealistic. So here's how it's gonna go. The character first and foremost has to be an exciting character. We're not going to put this kit, these skills, these abilities on a character that is not hype. So in this case, just for popular opinion, I'm going to go with Dangai Ichigo. A new Dangai Ichigo, in fact. My bias, though, wants me to do Full Hollow, but let's do Dangai Ichigo. He's a popular character. It's a form many people want in-game once more. A character like Dangai Ichigo is already going to get a lot of people spending the orbs, but let's see how good we can actually make him. So first up, I'm going to make him a power character. As of right now, in the current state of Brave Souls, despite us recently getting a great character like Aaroniero, power still does need access to like a really good broken character. Best character in the game level is what I'm going for. So we're going to give him the power attribute, make him a swiper character, and with that we're going to give him a swiper killer and also an Aranka killer. 2 killers is always great, especially within the power attribute where we don't have access to that many relevant, recent, and good swiper killers and also Aranka killers. This will of course increase their usability, but also having 2 killers like this makes them more relevant too, in my opinion. Additionally, the trend that we have seen since the 8th anniversary that certain characters are going to get 2 soul traits upon release. So in this case, strong attack damage plus 20% and also 12% recharge. This covers an attribute that has been desperately needing a great character. 2 killers increasing their usability and then also making them a very good link, assuming you potentially work on them and maybe max transcend them. Moving on to the skills and the effects this character can have, there's a few things that we can work with here. We could have a character with the enemies defeated bonus. We could have a character with a gauge effect. Maybe we go back to 2018 and give a character a transformation summon, which is definitely something that I'd love to see return. For the sake of the concept though, we're going to give the character the enemies defeated bonuses. These bonuses in of itself has no limitation to what skill and damage buff a character can get. So you can really experiment what skills they will pick up upon getting a certain number of enemies defeated. We aren't going to do anything too special though. In this case, we're going to opt in to give him a very similar enemies defeated bonus as Yuha Buck. Right now, as far as enemies defeated bonuses do go, Yuha is the best iteration of that, and we're going to make some slight changes. So upon defeating 20 enemies, he's going to pick up a 40% Berserker. After 40 enemies defeated, he will then pick up an additional 20% strong attack damage buff, which he can give to your entire team. 60 enemies defeated, he will then pick up a 60% devastation, which is increasing the damage of his soul bomb. And then just like Yuha, after he does defeat 80 enemies, he will then get an additional soul bomb. 2 soul bombs is one of the most broken abilities in the entire game, and having that with these other good buffs would overall make the character very, very powerful in any content you put him against. But of course, when it comes to Guild Quest content, it's important to understand that you will only get the first 2 defeated bonuses, the 20 enemies defeated and the 40 enemies defeated. That in of itself is giving you a 60% strong attack damage buff, so that's honestly perfectly fine, especially when you are about to see what the other skills this character does have. For innate skills, we're going to go with the standard Sprinter +2, Long Stride, and also Marauder. These are basically must-haves in my opinion. In a way, the character doesn't need Long Stride, but I definitely prefer having it built into the character. When it comes to the skills, and there's a lot to go over here, first up, we're going to have the power attribute strong attack recharge in between stages. This is going to allow him in Limit Breaker in particular to make it so when he's next available, all of his strong attacks are ready to go. It also means in content like co-op or any type of content really where you are going through multiple rooms, your strong attacks are coming back a tad bit faster. This is almost a must-have too in my opinion, especially with the idea that the character can be used in slot 3 and Limit Breaker. Having the additional soul bomb, just like Yuha, would want you to use them almost every month, and with the recharge in between stages, it definitely does make them a meta character. We're then going to give a 40% Berserker. We're going to give him complete status immunity. However, it's going to be the shared status immunity. Now, this obviously means that upon standing in a status summon pool, you can then reflect that immunity to your other teammates, and that's something that surprisingly we haven't seen return in quite some time. It's obviously a good skill, but I'm very surprised like even anniversary characters, end of year characters are now not given shared status immunity. Makes you wonder, what are K-Lab doing? Why is this skill not returning even for the biggest of characters released in any given year? The skill itself doesn't give the character significantly more importance. Truth be told, the melee, Aranka, and also Sworba Guild Quest doesn't have any characters that aren't immune to status ailments, but I feel like it's just better to have the shared immunity instead of just having the normal immunity. So we're going to go with that. The next skill is going to be a 60% devastation. This is once more very similar to Yuha Buck, and the idea is if you're using a character with 2 soul bombs, you're going to want to have a very hard-hitting soul bomb. So with the 60% devastation built in, with the 60% additional devastation upon getting 60 enemies defeated, the character soul bomb is going to hit like an absolute truck. And it makes sense. If we are using Dangai, the strongest attack here is, or should be, the soul bomb. Following that, we're going to give them Frenzy +2, We could go with Frenzy +3, but let's just keep it. We're already doing a lot of OD stuff here. Let's just go with Frenzy +2. Have a plus 20%, of course. And we're going to give them Disabler. Now, this is a skill that has been in the game since like year 1. It's a very, very rare skill. And for those that don't know what this is, it's an increased chance to inflict status ailments. But the best part is that it's not tied behind a certain affiliation, a certain attribute. And having Disabler over an increased chance against a certain affiliation or a certain attribute makes them better in any type of content. Because characters like Aaroniero, for example, and also Ichigo, who have an increased chance to inflict status ailments against the enemies they have killer against. But when you don't have killer, it's very awkward using them because they don't have that increased chance. So there's more of an importance of them having killer, and I don't want to see that with this character. In Guild Quest, they're going to have their increased chance to inflict status ailments. And then if you take them into epic raids, inheritance trials, even in Limit Breaker, disregarding the attribute, disregarding the affiliation, they're always going to have that increased chance to inflict status ailments, which I think would be a very, very nice quality of life in my opinion. Following that, though, we are then going to give an 80% SP boost. Truth be told, we could probably change the 20% strong attack damage buff from the soul trait and maybe put a 40% SP boost so we can get 120% overall with the 80% from the skill, but I'm just going to go with the standard recharge and also strong attack damage, because that skill in of itself would be absolutely broken, right? And then lastly, just to wrap up the character, why not? Let's give him weakened defense. Upon using the soul bomb, the idea that it is Mugetsu, if the enemy is alive, even after letting off that absolute nuke, well, it's only right that the character will be significantly weakened. In this case, weakened defense. That then takes us into the third part of the character's attacks. And this is where things might get a bit more overpowered than what we're usually expecting with a normal Bright Souls character. So the strong attack kit, they're going to have the best possible strong attacks. SA1 is going to be a beam forward with the added whiff. Very similar to Yachi Unohana and also, of course, 6th Anniversary Aizen. The SA2 is going to be a distant AoE into a humming vortex. Again, the best possible SA2. And this is going to provide a lot of great crowd control, especially in Guild Quest content. And then to go alongside that, we are then going to have the 2-stage charge strong attack, the Getsuga Jujisho attack. It's a very powerful SA3 with basically no negative effect besides maybe sometimes being open for attacks. And that's why we have a Tracking Vortex SA2 to make up for the fact that we won't need blast rate on our attacks. We won't need a barrier character because the SA2 itself will keep the enemy in place, likely increase status ailments given that we do have Disabler, and then you can freely use that SA3 without any worry about taking any type of damage. Now, with that, we're only giving the character weakening. I feel like weakening by itself is probably the best case scenario. Weakening and another status ailment will kind of hurt the character in Guild Quest, because once the weakening wears off after like 2 seconds, the other status ailment, depending on what it is, will stay there for like another 5+ seconds. With just weakening, an increased chance to inflict status ailments, and a Tracking Vortex SA2, there's a very good chance once the weakening wears off, it's almost instantly being reapplied. And this would also mean that the character itself won't have any problems reactivating the SP boost. Now, as for the soul bomb, this is where things might get super ridiculous and probably never ever happen. It's going to be a debuff effect, so upon using the soul bomb, it will lower their defense by 80%. But also, what's very special about this character, especially given that we are using Dangai Ichigo / Mugetsu here, the soul bomb itself should be an absolute nuke. Nothing should be surviving here. So what we're going to do, especially given that the character is a power character, we're taking inspiration from other gacha games like Dokkan and even Grand Cross, where the soul bomb cannot have attribute disadvantage. No matter what character you use the soul bomb against, it's always going to have attribute advantage. So whether we're up against a technique character, a speed character, a mind character, the soul bomb in a way is always doing its max damage potential, and it's doing the same amount of damage against any attribute, essentially. And that would be absolutely crazy. Again, super overpowered, right? Probably never going to happen. But I would love to see a soul bomb that doesn't ever have attribute disadvantage, or more so always has attribute advantage. I'm pretty confident with the skills that we have given this character. No matter what boss you decide to use your soul bomb against, it's very likely to absolutely one-shot a boss in very hard, and even in Limit Breaker where the enemies have a significantly large amount of HP. In epic raids, it very well might one-shot a lot of bosses, but I mean, we already cleared some of these quests significantly fast anyway. Why not have a bit of fun with a really cool and powerful soul bomb that is, of course, Mugetsu. And with that, I think that's basically my best, most broken character in Brave Souls. There's definitely ways to make this better. Again, you could probably give them a gauge effect, maybe give them a transform effect. Maybe, to be fair, this isn't within reason, but for the most part, besides the soul bomb, we are going with things that are currently in-game right now. But to be fair, maybe this character is a bit too broken and break all balance in-game, but it's a PvE game, who cares? It's all a bit of fun. I guess this is my concept of a broken character. Let me know what you guys think about it. In the comments below, let me know your concepts, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care, and peace.